As most of you know, when I started selling in the residential HVAC industry, I was fresh out of the homeless shelter. I was still on an ankle bracelet because technically I was still in the custody of Department of Corrections. But I was so excited to have this opportunity in residential sales because I knew if I could get a job and start making some money, I could get a place to live and get my son, who by that time was 10 years old. I had not been with my son since he was 3 years old, except for an occasional visit in a prison visiting room. So it was a big deal for me to start getting really good at sales, a huge deal for me to start making money so I could get a place to live and to get my son. So I set out on my sales career. I started talking to people, and you know what I learned very, very quickly is that honest, good-hearted, decent people will look you dead in the eye, and they will tell you, I'm going to call you back next Monday, and we're going to go with you, or I'm going to call you back next Tuesday, and we're going to use your company, and then not do it. People would look you dead in the eye and say, hey, we're going with you, come back next Tuesday, and then never call back, right? Never show up again. Because people don't want to say no to our face. People want to say no by postponing the decision. They want to say no by not returning emails and phone calls. So I learned really quickly that, man, if I'm going to get good at this, I had better start dealing with 3 bids and price, and I want to think about it early on in the process. Because it was really obvious to me, within about a week or two of doing this, that there were the same 3 excuses. So if I wanted to get out of that situation, if I wanted to have a real life for myself, I had to start getting back to the basics. I had to start figuring out ways, how can I get people to understand that 3 bids isn't what they need? A cheap price isn't what they need. They don't need to think about it till next Tuesday. They can trust me today. I started figuring out ways, and I started reading and studying. You know, I've been reading sales and personal development stuff for years. I started reading a lot of the work around the consistency theory, right? Robert Cialdini, public declarations dictate future action. So I started taking what I was learning there and applying it to my sales process. I started realizing, wow, if I can get my homeowners to acknowledge that they don't need 3 bids, that 3 bids doesn't protect them, if I can get them to acknowledge and to publicly declare that price is not the most important issue, if I can get them to say, hey, I can let you know today whether or not you're a good fit, then according to the research, they were more likely to take actions consistent with those words at the end. So I started figuring it out, right? Because I was sick and tired of people telling me they were going to call me back and then never calling me back. I was sick and tired of people going with somebody else because they were $1,000 cheaper. So I started learning how to deal with those issues. Before long, I got really, really good at this. As I often talk about, in my first month, and that was after getting off to a really rough start the first week or two. In my first month, I sold $149,000 of heating and air conditioning systems here in Colorado Springs. Made myself over $14,000 in sales commissions. The bottom line is this industry changed my life, but it was learning how to sell. It was taking the time to figure out, okay, what's going on these leads? Why am I losing these opportunities? Why are my homeowners going with other companies? Why are they postponing their decisions? Why are they telling me they're going to call me next Tuesday and then they never call me next Tuesday? Why is that happening? Well, I started studying and I figured it out. That's what you got to do, folks. Don't just keep going through the same motions and being frustrated with the results. You got to step back. What's going on here? How can I make this better? That, my friends, is a lesson from the street. In my situation, failure was not an option. It took me 6 months to find that job in the heating and air conditioning industry. And I was pretty sure I wouldn't have a second opportunity. I had no education. I had a criminal record. I had all these, challenges against me, all these black marks against me. I was 40 years old. I had nothing going on. I knew I wouldn't have a second chance. I knew I couldn't just try to go to work somewhere else and figure out a plan B. I had no plan B. I had to make this work. I had to get good at this opportunity. And so do you. Because I'm telling you, the opportunities are limitless here. But you have to be willing to get smart and deal with the objections that your homeowners are going to have before they raise them. You know what they're going to say before they do. So be prepared for it. Don't wait for them to bring up 3 bids and then start struggling. Don't wait for them to bring up, oh, you're too expensive, and then start trying to deal with it. Deal with it proactively.